Many people are requesting that Suga leave BTS, and we need to get into that as well as bullying accusations. We also have the news company Yonhap releasing a clip of Suga falling and what this means, and then we have a lot of people unfollowing and the craziness of that. So hey Dumplings, it's Disci, let's get into it. Apparently there are some big fan accounts that have decided to leave the community. I'm sure there's not just one or two, but apparently one of the biggest ones in Korea had left, and this was a huge story among the community because a lot of people had gotten their information, whether that is new song releases or new updates from that fan account. I don't know if the fan account made much money, but I know that apparently there was a team behind it, so they must have had made some money if people were doing it full time. I don't know if people were doing it full time. But around the time that the DUI incident happened, they quit. And some people were saying that was the reason why they had decided to step away. They did leave a statement to say why they were stepping away, and their statement said that this was just unhealthy to focus this much of their life onto BTS, and they're kind of quitting, I guess, to maintain some sort of work-life balance. I don't know the exact wording. This is what I got from their message. Now, my unsolicited opinion and my thoughts are a little bit different from that. Of course, I don't know what actually is going on behind the scenes, and it could be exactly what they're saying. However, a lot of people in the community like to hide what they really feel and something that actually is more reasonable. And also one of the reasons why I don't really want to say the name of the fan club, because if they were going to come out and say that the reason why they were quitting was because they could no longer support the boys over all of the crazy accusations that have come out, then a lot of people would send them hate, and a lot of people would track them down, and a lot of people would also try to convince them to stay fans and to say that these crazy things will blow over or it's not that big of a deal. But simply saying that they're busy or that they want to focus on their own life is definitely something that people can't fight. You can't argue with that. That's probably going to be true, and people would just have to accept it. Again, this is just my opinion. It's just my thoughts. I don't actually know for sure, and I just feel like that because that's sometimes what the community does. It also makes sense, as the person who runs this fan account might not want their information leaked or whatever it is. And so them kind of stepping away kind of gracefully is going to allow them to still find a job and all that sort of stuff. And again, as I said, this is just my opinion, so please do not actually send hate or believe that that's actually what they're doing. But of course, in my opinion, the timing is a little bit weird, right? Like, I would imagine that this would be the time in which BTS would actually need us the most. But then stepping down has posed a question within the community that I think is now something that people can ask themselves. This idea of balanced life and obsession with the celebrity. Is this healthy? Is it okay to be so obsessed with the celebrity, not only to the point where you're neglecting parts of your own life, but to the point where if the celebrity does something, you're devastated. You're almost on the verge of ending your own life. Like, that's obviously not healthy. It's not healthy to act like that with your partner or even your kids, let alone someone you may or may not have ever met in real life. I think it's okay to do whatever you want to do in your life and not have your whole life be focused around just this one celebrity. The bottom line is the boys are not holding back on their own life to serve everyone else. They're still living their own life, and I think that's what people are starting to realize now, is that the boys are not limiting themselves. And so if they're not doing so, you shouldn't either. And it's okay to live your own life and do things. Some of the things that have recently come out are a little bit shocking, and I think we really need to take it as we don't know what's going on. And oftentimes the media likes to twist things. We know what has come out. We know that Suga has left an apology. So we know that him on an electric scooter is probably real, but we don't know what else is real and what isn't. For example, Yonhap News is one of the biggest Korean news agencies out there, and they allegedly got a hold of some clips that show Suga running down the sidewalk and falling. I don't fully know what they're trying to insinuate here. If they were saying that he was drunk or what, because you cannot tell if you're drunk from this clip. You also can't tell that it's him from this clip. This literally could be anybody, and there would be no way for us to know, because if you're going by the fact that when we saw this blurry clip of an electric scooter of him driving by with that, and you're saying that that's him, but now you're seeing this other clip of him running down the sidewalk, and it's supposed to be that both of these things happened around the same time, and it doesn't really make sense. But what is this clip implying? That when the police stopped him, he ran away? I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't think that he would run away. I think he would just be like, okay, well, let me take the breathalyzer test. So this clip to me seems a little bit odd, and again, we can't see anything. So that is one of those things where you're just gonna have to believe your own eyes, which is that if you can't see anything, you don't know what's real and what isn't. We also live in 2024 where people can buy security cameras that are actually clear. I would actually argue and say it's pretty hard to buy camera equipment that is blurry nowadays. Like, it's almost all in 4K, unless these cameras were just never upgraded, in which case that would make even less sense, because these cameras are 24/7, meaning if it was an old camera from like the early 2000s, it would have broke already. So we are seeing that it's blurry. That's very suspicious. That's untrustworthy, at least in my opinion. This is followed up with a lot of comments, I mean a lot of comments of people not just requesting him to leave BTS, but to fully retire from the music industry altogether. And I mean, this is kind of crazy to say to someone. I mean, could he retire? Probably. I mean, if he took all his money and he spent it on investments and all that sort of stuff, he would have more than enough money to live out the rest of his life without having to worry about money and still live in luxury. But it's odd to request someone to retire when they don't want to, or when they're passionate about what they do, because to have these opinions based off of a clip that is just so blurry. It's so blurry that it maybe has 3 pixels in there. You can barely see the shape of the person that you're trying to identify. Like the color of the person blends in with the rest of the background. It is barely distinguishable. The cars in the video barely look like cars. Also, this doesn't even begin to compare with how bad some of these scandals in K-pop have been. I mean, this is still considered pretty light. Now, of course, this is a pretty bad thing. I'm not taking that lightly. But if you compare some of the sex trafficking scandals that have come out, this is really nothing compared to that. And people haven't even fully forced those people to completely retire from the music industry. The bottom line is, all of the BTS members are nice people, which is why the community and the people surrounding the community feel like they can bully them and they can tell BTS members what to do. Because good luck sitting there and telling Beyonce what to do. Most of us would know that that probably wouldn't get us anywhere and probably wouldn't even hurt her. But this is exactly why celebrities start to act like celebrities, is because they realize they don't want to deal with the BS, and that when they stop being so nice, people will stop bullying them. So stop bullying the nice people. Speaking of bullying, since the DUI situation had happened, there were a lot of people who were coming out to say a bunch of random things that Suga may have done or may not have done. One of those things is, of course, this idea that he has bullied someone within his social service job. So if you're not aware, Suga had his shoulder surgery, so obviously he would be exempt from doing the normal military where he's fighting and stuff. So instead he has to work in an office, and he just serves his country in a way where he doesn't have to be physical. This is great. This is fine. I hope he enjoys it. There were definitely some rumors that came out to say that he was acting like a classroom bully. These accusations are wild and highly exaggerated, because what they consider a classroom bully was not something that I would consider a classroom bully. Completely failing to talk about the moments in which he actually came after someone or hurt someone. Apparently he missed like 4 days, 5 nights of something that he was supposed to attend, and then when the instructor scolded him on that, he just nodded his head and then went back to being on his phone. This, to the person who was saying this, is classroom bully behavior. And I think this comes just from the fact that they already feel like Suga is a person of higher power because he has more money and he's famous, whatever. So whatever he does that isn't considered humble would be considered bullying or acting like one. First of all, I don't know about any of you guys, but if I was doing something that, yes, I am doing, but I may not have consented to, i.e. like if someone forced me to go back to school or something like that, I would probably be upset too. And I'm not necessarily saying that Suga is upset, but I think we can safely say that he doesn't really want to be there, or if he had a choice on where he would be, he would probably choose to be on a stage. I've never attacked someone or was never someone that tried to assert my dominance in class. I mean, I would easily be humbled very quickly if I tried to do that. Yet I would have a pretty similar attitude back when I was in high school or in school in general, where I didn't really talk to anyone. I didn't really participate in any of the school activities, and I didn't befriend a lot of people, because the moment I finished classes, I went right to doing another thing, the thing that I'm doing right now. And if it wasn't for doing this at such a young age, I wouldn't be able to do it right now. Maybe Suga was working on some music and he just wanted to get through his service job over and then go back to doing that. Now, he hasn't updated since he's been in the military, so a lot of people don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes. But there was something that came out a little while ago after he went into the service, which was him giving out free drinks and snacks and also setting the rules of the class to say that everyone should be nice and kind. So I'm not really seeing exactly where he would have been a bully. Him not really caring about his job or what he's supposed to be doing right now is not really considered bully behavior, I don't think. And it really doesn't clarify if he actually was mean to anyone, which is really the important thing. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for the comment right here. Love you. Bye.